Hello, welcome, and happy Earth Day, everyone. Welcome to the Dine Dash virtual lunch series brought to you by uGO and University Circle Incorporated, also known as UCI. My name is Annie Pease, and I'm the Director of Transportation at UCI. The Dine Dash lunch series will bring you a 45-minute virtual session on sustainable transportation topics. The sessions will be held once a month through August. For those new to uGO is all about sustainable transportation. We have a website, ugointhecircle.com. Those are the letters UGO in thecircle.com, with information you need about getting to and around University Circle on all modes of transportation. During non-pandemic times, we host events like confident urban cycling classes, bike to work day events, and shared mobility demonstrations in partnership with anchor institutions and community partners here in the Circle. We also issue a monthly e-newsletter to keep people in the loop on local projects, service changes, upcoming events, and transportation resources available to you. The Dine Dash series will dive into different modes of sustainable transportation available in University Circle and across Northeast Ohio. Many people, for example, are unfamiliar with Vanpool as a commute option. Today's session will explore the service, and we'll have a chance to hear firsthand from someone who not only uses Vanpool to get to work, but has helped colleagues and others at the Cleveland VA Medical Center set up their own Vanpools. I am thrilled to see a live audience on for our session today. And before introducing our speakers, we do have a raffle drawing for those in attendance. At each of our Dine Dash sessions, we are raffling off a $20 gift card to an uptown restaurant of your choice, plus a $20 scooter credit. So drum roll, please, here for the live raffle drawing. I'm here to announce that Mr. Joe Hogan is today's raffle winner. Mr. Hogan, we will be in touch by email to find out which restaurant you'd like your gift card for, and with information about your voucher for the $20 worth of scooter riding credits. So we will have time after today's speakers' presentations for moderated questions with our audience. We will be taking questions through the Q&A chat box, and we'll get to as many as we can in the last 10 or 15 minutes of today's session with both of our speakers. So with that, I'll introduce our first speaker. With us today to represent Commute with Enterprise is Katie Arbeiter. Katie has been with Enterprise for 10 years, and within the last year has transitioned to Commute, where she oversees all of Ohio and Northern Kentucky. Katie was born and raised in Arizona, but has spent the last 18 years in Columbus, where she lives with her 15-year-old son. Katie, I'll turn the presentation over to you and advance the slides.
Thank you, Annie. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all doing well today and have been staying warm this week. I really cannot imagine a stranger weather week in Ohio in April, but I will say it's very beautiful to see the snow on all the fully bloomed trees. So I've appreciated that. Thank you, Annie, for inviting me this afternoon, and thank you, Courtney, for being here to share a bit about your Vanpool experience. There's truly nothing better than a firsthand account, so I'm grateful to have you. I am excited to be here today speaking with all of you about sustainable transportation options and specifically vanpooling. As Annie shared, my name is Katie Arbeiter, and I am with Commute with Enterprise, which is a division of Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I work with all types of employers to create reliable transportation solutions for their employees. I help identify commuters that live in close proximity to each other and provide them with safe and affordable options to improve their commute. I have seen over and over again, not only in Ohio, but across the country, that when transportation to and from work is guaranteed, employee satisfaction goes up, and so with it does attendance, productivity, and retention. By implementing vanpooling as a benefit, business partners have been able to significantly reduce parking congestion and support their sustainability goals by getting a lot of cars off the road. So let's just take a quick look at what I want to cover today. Today is really just an overview. I want to provide you with a bit of company background on Commute, the who we are and what we do. I want to take some time to share more about the specifics of our service, how it works on a day-to-day basis, and what is included in the program. I will share how Enterprise has responded to COVID-19 and is putting the health and safety of our customers first. I will touch on commuting as an important aspect to not only the employees' well-being, but also to the well-being of the organization overall. And finally, I'll share more about how we partner with businesses to develop and implement a commute program at the worksite. First, let me tell you a little bit about Commute with Enterprise. Next slide. So Commute with Enterprise is a division of Enterprise Holdings. You may also know us as Enterprise Rent-A-Car, and we also operate National and Alamo at the airports. Enterprise Holdings prides itself on being a total transportation solution. We also offer truck rentals, fleet management, and we even have a used car sale division. As for Commute, our mission is very much in our name. Our goal is to help organizations and their employees by finding alternatives to driving their own vehicle to and from work alone. We've actually been operating Vanpools for over 40 years. Pre-COVID, we had over 12,000 vehicles in our fleet, and we are steadily getting back to that number, of course, with the goal of far surpassing it. So the question I really want to focus on today is what exactly is vanpooling? Because to Annie's point, not a lot of people know about it, and how does Commute with Enterprise work? Next slide, please. So vanpooling is very much like carpooling, but it does offer distinct advantages over traditional carpooling. We work with organizations to connect a group of anywhere from 4 to 15 co-workers. They typically live in the same area and share similar work hours. We provide them with a recent model minivan, 7-passenger SUV, or a large 15-passenger van, just depending on the need. Employees determine a central meeting point, like a park and ride or a grocery store where they can meet to hop in the van. And usually the Vanpool coordinator, or as we would call the captain of the Vanpool, like Courtney is, takes the vehicle home and then picks up the group at the agreed upon spot. This is an employee operated program, meaning that the employees themselves share in the driving responsibilities, typically between at least 2 or more folks in the group. Often the employees split the cost of fuel and the cost of the van rental between all the van participants, but in a lot of cases, this is also where the company steps in. So many organizations offer a subsidy to either cover the cost entirely or help offset it significantly. And in many cases, we are able to partner with transit agencies who also provide a significant subsidy. The Commute program itself includes far more than just the vehicle. Commute includes 24/7 roadside assistance, all the preventative maintenance, full physical damage coverage on the vehicle, and $1 million in liability coverage. We also reimburse up to $100 4 times per year per person if they need to take a taxi or an Uber home from work due to becoming ill or having an emergency. Vans are on a month-to-month contract, which is great because there's no long-term commitment and making it a very easy program to pilot. And finally, employees will have a local contact on our operations team that will assist them with their commute needs once they have their vehicle. And while this covers the basics, it's a very customizable program, and we work with each company individually to do whatever best fits the organization and their employees. Next slide. I would be completely remiss if I did not address the challenges of the past year or more at this point. Enterprise's Complete Clean Pledge came as an immediate response to the COVID-19 health crisis. We have always taken providing clean and safe vehicles very seriously. This pledge just means we significantly upped our cleaning game, and all rented vehicles must now meet specific criteria and be checked off by management before being issued to a customer. The same goes with commute vehicles. It is not a perfect process, but it is far improved. Commute with Enterprise coaches our Vanpool groups to work together with their van families, people who they know and trust from work, to build a routine to clean and disinfect the vehicles regularly, and also adhere to the guidance of health officials. We have found that our van family groups truly hold each other accountable and have remained safe during this time. To support this pledge, as well as our van families, we have provided cleaning checklists and a complete clean starter kit with every new Vanpool. This kit includes washable masks, disposable gloves, cleaning solution, and all the cleaning supplies. We have found this controlled environment of folks traveling with the same group each day, all going to and from the same workplace, a very safe option for many. Most of our Vanpools have stayed in operation throughout the pandemic. The ones who have not are due to work from home conditions, and many of those that have disbanded are now returning to work and restarting their Vanpools. Now that we've talked about our response to COVID, let's talk about why the employee commute matters. Next slide, please. So why is it important for companies to care about their employees' commute? That's historically been on the employee, right? So one of the key factors for job seekers, as I'm sure you all well know, is accessibility. Can they reliably make it to and from work every day and on time? There's an HR study that I found recently that showed upon exit interviews, 23% of employees named challenges with their commute as the reason for leaving. Imagine if that was a non-issue. Imagine the value to an employer to be able to improve their retention and spend less on hiring and training new individuals due to transportation problems. And because having a commute plan helps eliminate transportation barriers, organizations are also able to expand their talent pool by reaching beyond their typical limits and recruiting from new areas. And of course, something I am sure is very relevant to this group, commuting together with 3 or more people frees up a whole lot of parking, allowing employers to face parking congestion and to use their space more efficiently. We know that a proactive commute plan not only makes a difference for the employees determining how they get to and from work, but it also clearly has a huge impact on employers, as we've just now touched on. Next slide. For employees, the cost savings, reduction in stress, and benefits of shared driving responsibilities speak for themselves, as Courtney will share more with you about in a few minutes, but I just want to touch on quickly. Employees riding in Vanpools are very likely to arrive to work on time as they have a commitment to the group. They have an opportunity to establish and build rapport with coworkers, and overall job satisfaction is higher when the stress of their commute is eliminated, not to mention the incredible savings they experience. Some of my favorite examples have come from folks currently in our program who have shared that not only do they save on fuel and wear and tear on their vehicles, but their insurance premiums have even gone down. If they do have a personal vehicle, many of them have been able to reduce the cost of their lease because they are driving not nearly as much. Since I have been in my role, which is not very long, but since I have been in my role, the one thing that I know for sure is employees love vanpooling. On average, once we get a vanpool on the road, the group stays together for years. Next slide. So I want to finish by just talking a little bit about how we partner with organizations to start the process and then eventually implement the commute program. It begins by engaging with the organization to learn more about the employer's specific goals and the needs of their employees. This is all in an effort to determine if the organization really is a good fit for commute. From there, we provide cluster mapping at no cost to the employer that allows us to analyze current employee commutes and efficiently identify specific opportunities for new vanpools. We strategize with the employer based on what has been identified as most important, whether that is retaining the employees they currently have or recruiting from new areas. The mapping is a critical element to a successful implementation. We then collaborate with the organization and develop a plan to roll out the program to the employees through what we refer to as commuter connection meetings. Once we identify the group and get them organized and signed up, we deliver the vehicle, and from there, it's all on us. We provide ongoing account management to make sure the vehicle is maintained, the program is healthy, and that all the participants are fully supported. Next slide. So the purpose of me being here today was simply to share more about our commute solution as a part of this awesome series that Annie invited us to. I certainly did not cover everything, so please feel free to reach out to me with questions if you have more after our Q&A. And I want to thank everybody that's here today for listening in. Special thank you to Annie. And a special thank you to Courtney. Courtney is one of the first people I was able to help start a new vanpool in the Cleveland area. And she was very patient with me throughout what was a very new process to me. So I am super grateful for her. And now I will turn it over to her.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Courtney Masitis, and I am actually a program support assistant here at the VA Medical Center. Been here since 2014. Did not find out about the van share pool until about 2018. Had I known sooner, I would have started right then and there. But somebody in a previous department that I worked in had mentioned that they had to hurry up and leave and catch the van pool. And I said, Vanpool, what Vanpool? So that's when we got to talking, and they talked about the Commute with Enterprise. And I said, oh, I want to learn more. Tell me how to apply. What do I have to do? Super simple. Here at the VA, we have our HR department actually has a VA transit application, super simple, you know, pretty much simple information, name, address, how, if this is going to be your primary means of transportation. And then we get what's called a VA transit card. So the VA puts money on our transit card monthly. And then in return, since I have an account set up with Commute, I just put my VA credit card number in there, and it automatically, I just click one button and it automatically takes the money off my card. So the VA puts it on, Commute takes it off. There's like, it's kind of a no-brainer for me. So the automatic pay is awesome. So once I got started, I rode on I want to say, Katie, you could probably help me with this. I want to say the van that I was on, it was maybe 11, 12 passenger, I think. And so there was a full van come out of the Medina County, Strongsville area. We all met at South Park Mall, 7 a.m. and we would arrive down here probably about 7:30, about 30 minutes before our shift started, which I can kind of piggyback off of what Katie said. As far as stress, as far as you're not responsible to drive every day. There's one girl that's on my Vanpool now who she says, please, you don't want me to drive. I drive like a turtle. We'll never get to work on time. So we're okay with that. She does not drive. She sits back.
Looks like we lost Courtney for just a moment there. We'll give Courtney a minute to pop back on, let her IT issues resolve. As Courtney's coming back with us, Katie, we do have a question in the Q&A I'd like to throw your way.
Please do. I saw it pop up, but I can't see it. I'm so not familiar with Zoom, so please feel free to.
No problem. Could you talk a little bit about, so on the company side, on the employer side, is there a trend you see in terms of companies who sign up for the commute service in Northeast Ohio? And are they...
So I would say the trend has changed significantly in the last year. So I've only been in Commute for about a year, but based on what I know, it was very popular in downtown metropolitan areas to really help overcome congestion. And I can tell you just from since I've been in the role, I have actually personally worked more with manufacturing sites, production sites, food production, any essential workers, shift workers, especially in locations where restaurants have been cut altogether or there are less available. So that's been kind of our focus and the way we've been really able to help people that are really having a barrier to transportation, workplace transportation. Not to say that we won't still be in urban areas and that that's not still important. Obviously, that's why we're here today, but it definitely has shifted throughout the pandemic. Does that answer the question?
Sure. Yes, that's great. Thank you. And I think we have Courtney back.
We have Courtney back. Okay, good.
So Courtney, you can jump right back in where you left off.
I'm so sorry, guys.
No
I have
problem.
no idea. And all of a sudden it just kicked me totally off. So, so basically what I was saying was my previous Vanpool that I was on, I was a driver on there as well. I was not the coordinator, but I was a driver slash rider. Like I said, I don't know if you guys heard me, but we were part of like a group text, everybody that was in the van. We would kind of coordinate if somebody was going to be a couple minutes late. Hey, I'll be there at 7:02, or I'm on my way, just so it was kind of a courtesy thing. And that's kind of what I decided to set up on mine because I thought it worked very well. But also, when we picked up at 7 a.m., like I said, we got here extremely early, 7:30. You were able to come in, you know, unpack your things and just sit and relax. the Vanpool has been such a huge stress relief for me. Saved so many miles on my car. Had I known about this, like I said, when I started at the VA in 2014, I would not have had to purchase my personal leased vehicle. I was 20 some thousand miles over my lease, which it was a 15,000 mile a year lease. So I did end up purchasing that because of all the miles that I put on it. But so in 2018, I started riding. I started driving as well. And then 2020, my brother started working for the VA. Found out that one of his cars that he was driving into work had broken down here in Cleveland somewhere. And I said, you know what? I said, there's so many other people out there that I could kind of reach out to or just kind of put a bug in their ear and say, hey, are you interested? So my brother's kind of in the same area as me, about 10 minutes away. So I decided to start my own. Reached out to Katie and said, you know, I want to start my own Vanpool. I want to, you know, help other people. I want them to benefit as much as I have. So I started my own. We have 6 riders, including myself. The 5 of us are eligible and have actually gone through the process, which is super simple. You send your information to Katie. She checks, make sure that you're eligible to drive the vehicle. So like I said, 5 out of 6 of us are eligible drivers. There are 3 of us that religiously take turns driving, which is super nice. We're not forceful on if somebody doesn't want to drive, we're fine with it. As long as, like Katie said, we're kind of just taking turns, sharing the responsibility, it's nice. But it has saved me so much money on gas, wear and tear on my personal car. It's freed up parking spaces like you would not believe in our parking garage here. And I also look at the pollution too, you know, the environment that we're in, you know, we got to think about that as well, especially in today's society. And I don't think I talked to Katie about this yet, but I just got my first oil change on the vehicle. Super simple. There's a little card. It's a Commute with Enterprise maintenance card. It's in the glove compartment. You really don't even need to take it in. I took it to a National Tire and Battery. I called them up, said I have a Commute vehicle. This is my first oil change. I don't really know the process. They were super helpful. All I had to do was give them my information and they charged everything to Enterprise. It was, I signed a paper and I was on my way. So super simple. The Commute gas card I carry with me. You pull up to the pump, it asks for the odometer reading, which is right there in front of you. And it asks for a vehicle ID number, which you would get that, you know, once you sign up and have a card. But 2 things you put into the pump, and it's super simple. I save all my receipts just because the OCD in me, I have every receipt. But I can't speak enough about it. I mean, in the goodie box that we got in the back, it's got masks, it's got disinfecting wipes, pretty much everything that you need. You can get car washes. I've gotten a couple car washes already. You know, when you fill up, it asks if you want a car wash, it'll add it to your receipt. You just go right in the car wash. Super nice. I really just wish I would have known about it sooner. And I mean, I can't speak highly enough about it. So I hope you guys jump on board. Thanks for listening to me. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day and have a good weekend. Thanks, guys.
Courtney, thank you so much for that excellent presentation. I'll invite both Katie and Courtney to come back on here. And I will moderate some questions from our Q&A box. Audience, if you have questions based on a lot of information that both Katie and Courtney have shared so far, no question is too detailed or too specific. We have 2 experts on to talk about Vanpool with us today. So feel free to leverage their knowledge. I'll start with one we have. Courtney, could you tell us a little bit about this vehicle that we see on the screen here?
I'm sorry, I was just going to say that is my 2020 Buick Enclave. It is a 7-passenger. We have 6 passengers in there right now. Comfortable. There's 2 captain chairs. So there's, when you get in either side back doors, you can actually just kind of walk through the little aisle between the 2 captain's chairs, and then there's a bench seat in the back. So it's super roomy, super comfortable, it's got more bells and whistles, and I've had it since the end of December. I still have yet to know how to work probably a quarter of them. So very, very fuel efficient. We get about 400, I think when I fill it up full, it's about 430 some miles to the gallon or to the tank. So it's a great car. It rides like a Cadillac, even though it's a Buick. I love it.
When you hear the term Vanpool, I think a lot of people in their mind picture an actual van. Katie,
Which we have.
They do.
Could you talk through, Katie, the vehicles that Commute uses for this program?
So it totally depends on whatever our buy is for the year. And I will say there's been a whole lot of issues with car manufacturers in general recently. So we're a little tighter on vehicles, as we would say, than we normally would be. But yeah, we have anything from something like this. We have been doing a lot of what's the Chrysler Voyagers minivans or Toyota Siennas. And then again, we have 12 and 15 passenger vans. So it really just depends on the size of the group and what the group wants. A lot of, especially in Northern Ohio, I work with Elkton Prison in Northern Ohio, and they really like SUVs as well because they're traveling long distances in inclement weather, and they like to have that 4-wheel drive. So it's really, I really work with groups, and I think Courtney would attest to this. I really try to make sure it's something that the group actually wants. And if it's not something that's a good fit, we'll switch them out. So there's a large range, but anything 7-passenger or bigger.
Yes, I will kind of attest that, Katie. And that was one thing that I wanted to touch base on is with the 6 passengers, it is no cost out of pocket for any of us. We pay nothing in gas. We pay nothing for wear and tear. It's completely free. So like I said, when the money that the VA puts on our cards monthly, VA puts it on, Enterprise takes it off. It's super simple. So it's just getting everything started, and then I do nothing. I drive to and from work, that's it. And we're allowed an extra, as the coordinator, I don't know, Katie, if you want me to speak about this.
Yeah, go ahead. I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, I am eligible for 200 miles per month that I could use if, say if I needed to use move a piece of furniture or something, or I bought something at a store, I can use my work vehicle to go pick it up. 200 miles a month, that's actually a lot. So, sometimes I will be honest, the other day when I took it for an oil change, I made a Costco run. I'm like, okay, I could just fill up the back and $300 some later. I should not have taken that, but it's okay. It's okay. But yeah, it's completely, it's part of the program, and it's part of a perk of being a coordinator. So I love that as well, that I have that option.
That's fantastic. I want to come back to Courtney, you mentioned the fact that employees at the VA aren't paying anything out of pocket for Vanpool service. That's a specific program set up at the VA. That's largely on the employer support side. We have a couple questions about employer support that we'll get to as well. But I want to stick on this employee side for a second while we've talked about this. It's one of the big differences between Vanpool through Commute and just like a carpool that someone would set up, and the enterprise is providing a vehicle. And then the participants actually, the coordinator can use that vehicle for, Courtney, you said up to 200 miles per month for personal trips. Do you have another car, Courtney, that you use for other trips? Or could you talk a little bit, like, what's that experience like of having this extra vehicle?
I actually do, because I told you I had to buy out my lease because I was way over on miles. So when my daughter turned 16, she took over my payments for that, and I got another used vehicle. But I think I drive more than 200 miles per month personally. So I don't really use this, and I probably should use that perk that I have, but I really don't. And I'm going to be completely honest. Like I said, sometimes I'll take it to Costco, or I don't even know. I'll take it to the lake and walk. Lake's only 5 miles from me, so I should use it more. I really don't, but I do like the fact of knowing, like, if something was to happen to my personal car and I needed something like a rental car, technically, so to speak, I really wouldn't need to tap into my insurance. I could use this, you know, for a couple days while it's getting fixed or whatever. So it's good to know that I have that option, even though I don't use it as much as I should.
Great. And
I think something to add to Annie, I have a couple people that I've talked to that have been doing this long term, and especially like in a family where 2 people have to drive to work. I've heard several times of where they've decided to get rid of one vehicle because somebody's taking Vanpool. Sometimes both of them are taking a Vanpool. But as long as they have one vehicle, that's all that they need, because they're not both using it to drive to work, and they share the driving with their other vehicle. So I've heard of that, which you're kind of speaking to, where people have been able to do without a personal vehicle just by utilizing the program.
Got it. Courtney, your Vanpool you mentioned a meetup spot. Could you talk a little bit about how do you choose the meetup spot? How do people get there? If someone's running a couple minutes behind, just how does that actually work?
So we do have a meetup spot. That was something that I actually had kind of coordinated when we started this. So there's 3 of the 6 of us commuters that live in Brunswick. There's one that drives from Medina, so she's coming that way anyways. She's coming north on 71, so she's passing the Brunswick exit anyways. So she meets up with us, and then my brother is in North Royalton, so he drives probably the furthest, which he doesn't really mind. It's like a 10-minute drive for him, but we meet right by 71. I kind of figured it was a decent sized parking lot. It's centrally located. It's right off the highway by the gas stations and food. If somebody wants to come early and grab something to eat or whatever. But I was the one that kind of came up with that because it's such an open parking lot. I don't know if you guys know anything about the Kmart parking lot on 303 and 71. So they all drive their own vehicles. I bring this from my house, which is about 5 minutes from the meeting designation. And we just pretty much, I park and just sit and wait for everybody to get there. And we do coordinate. Like I said, if somebody's going to be a couple minutes late, there is one girl in the van that's super, super like attentive when it comes to letting us know. She's like, I'll be there, or I'm on my way, or, you know, so we know to wait for her, because people's schedules are all different. We have one girl that is actually, she does not work in the office on Wednesdays, so she's home. So we kind of know her schedule. But we have a couple pharmacists, people that work in pharmacy in our van as well, that they have kind of rotating shifts as far as like they're on 1 week or they're on call another, you know, stuff like that. So we just kind of ask that they just let us know, and they're pretty respectful about it. So it's nice.
Excellent. Yes, it's a different framework than when you think about taking transit or doing a park and ride where there's a professional driver in a professional vehicle and that bus or train leaves at this specific time. There might be a little bit more flexibility with something like Vanpool on that network you have among the passengers to coordinate those departure times. I'll shift here a little bit to talk about employer support. We've gotten some questions on this. How do you frame the pitch? This question's for Katie. How would you frame the pitch to leadership or a finance department about the benefits of using transportation incentives? You mentioned this in the beginning of your presentation, just the importance of helping people get to work when it comes to retaining employees or recruiting qualified employees for these jobs. How do you frame the pitch to leadership on the benefits of incentivizing transportation like the VA does? What's kind of the business's role here?
So I think it completely depends depends on the business. And I think it depends on, so for me, a lot of the framing of that part comes after a lot of fact-finding questions, just to find out what challenges that business is particularly facing with employees. Lately, I have found that a lot of employers are facing challenges with recruiting and retention. And there is a lot of turnover, especially due to lack of transportation. And I'm learning from employers that it is very expensive to hire and train individuals. And so part of the conversation has become, you know, what is more costly, hiring and retaining and rehiring and retraining people, or keeping the people that you have and being able to provide the support through transportation. So that's been a huge area of focus lately, just based on what I have heard from employers mostly.
Great. Always important to understand the business aspect of who you're talking to and what some of those challenges are. And Commute's role there would be to customize solutions based on challenges. For
I will too say I'm working with an insurance company that's headquartered here in Columbus, and they are headquartered downtown, and right now nobody's at work, but everybody's planning to come back to work. They are planning to return everyone by this fall. That's their goal. But in the meantime, there was a building that was built right behind theirs, and now they're going to be sharing a parking garage with these folks, and they're going to be short about 750 parking spaces. So their focus is very much based on parking. So it really, to your point, Annie, and it really just depends on each individual company.
And Katie, we have another question. What incentives, or what are some of the best things you've seen employers do to incentivize Vanpool? Is it covering the cost of the service? Is it providing a flexible start or ending time or something with parking? What can the employer do to make Vanpool more appealing for people?
So it can be a balance of a lot of different things. So I do have, there are some areas of Ohio that we do have transit agencies that provide subsidies. So that's always a great incentive. And then a lot of times the employer will come in and say, okay, well, I don't want to cover the entire cost. I want to put some of it back on the employee. So I'm going to do maybe, you know, $50 a month pre-tax payroll deduct, because you can pre-tax payroll deduct this benefit, this federal benefit, and up to $270. I don't think I mentioned that. So they'll maybe pre-tax payroll deduct $50 out of the employee's paycheck for that participant, and then they will cover the rest of the cost, just to keep it simple. Like if you want to be a part of this program, it's going to be $50 a month, and that's going to cover everything for you, and we will cover the rest. Or they will put it all on the employee. I think the more support from the employer, obviously, it's easier to get the program going. A lot of times they will provide preferred parking. Courtney mentioned it's easier to, you know, there's parking that's more open. They actually have at the VA preferred Vanpool parking. So now you have these groups that are like, maybe they are coming to a location that is parking is very congested, but they know that they are going to be able to park and get inside right away. And that's a huge incentive. So it depends on, again, it depends, but those are just some of the things that I have seen. And I think, you know, just the more the mapping that we do, the more on board companies are with the mapping that we do, it makes it so easy to identify where your groups, where your employees live. It makes it very easy to efficiently reach out to the right people to see if there's interest. Really taking advantage of what we have to offer makes it a lot easier on the employer to be able to implement this program successfully.
Great. Question here, how much does it cost if the employer isn't incentivizing Vanpool or providing a subsidy? How much does it cost someone to participate?
I would say it just depends on the size of the vehicle. Obviously, the larger vehicles, it's going to be less per person. I think anywhere from $50 to $100 per person to participate would be per month, would be about average.
Great. So Katie, we've talked about Vanpool at the VA quite a bit.
Yes.
You mentioned Columbus. Could you talk about other locations where Vanpools are active, locations or any other major companies folks on the line may have heard of?
Sure. So I don't want to speak too much to these because again, I just started this role 7 months ago. So I have about 8 companies right now in the process of implementation. So we're not there yet, but we're right on the edge. I'm working with Hot Chicken Takeover, which I know they have 2 locations in Cleveland. I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with them, but they are a restaurant company that is a second chance organization. They hire folks with alternative resumes, and their folks historically have a lot of barriers to transportation. So that's something that they're looking at. I'm working with FedEx. We do have a FedEx program in Indiana that's up and running, so we're working on that here. I think Annie mentioned that I also cover the northern part of Kentucky, so I'm working with University of Kentucky in Lexington right now. And again, the federal military employees are easy to get going because they have that benefit of $270 a month available to them. So I work with a lot of prison sites and military bases as well.
Great. And nationally, are there examples?
Oh, there's so many. Tesla is the biggest. We have hundreds and hundreds. We probably have 1,000 vans with Tesla at this point. Every month they are just growing by the hundreds. So Tesla fully subsidizes this program for their employees, the fuel and all. So their employees across the country are on board. And we have been in conversation with, I've been in conversation with Tesla here in Ohio, but they don't have kind of the number of employees that we would need to get a really good van pool going because they're the service centers, the dealerships. They're not as large here, but anywhere where they're doing manufacturing, they have a ton of vans. And I would say, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, I should have written some of these down. University of Michigan has over 100 vans. That's a very big site as far as our universities go, and it's close to home, so.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, well, we've come to the end of the questions that we've received. I would like to thank Katie and Courtney again for your time and sharing your experience and your perspective on Vanpool, both from the service provider standpoint, as well as from the very personal and user-oriented experience from Courtney. So thank you both so much for your participation.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
For those on the line, today was the first of 5 Dine Dash virtual sustainable transportation series. We have our next session on public transit and upcoming bus network redesign changes. The bus network changes are anticipated for June, so don't miss this session, Tuesday, May 18th, same time, 12 to 12:45. We'll have representatives from RTA to talk about some general information on what you need to get started taking RTA, as well as what to expect in the University Circle area with those upcoming bus network changes. We'll roll into biking in June 17th. Our session will be all about biking, and there will be relevant pieces, whether you're just getting started biking and wondering what you need to get going, or if you've been biking for a while. Don't miss that session with some great tips for biking as a form of transportation. In July, we'll have a session on ride matching. We'll have representatives from the Cleveland Clinic who incentivizes carpooling, as well as a representative from NOACA's Ohio Commute platform to talk about the technology available to folks to find carpool partners within their organization or district-wide in areas like University Circle, where you have lots of different employers close by. And then at the end of August, we'll conclude the series with a session on scooters and the City of Cleveland's shared mobility program. We'll have a representative from the City of Cleveland, as well as one of our operators, our scooter companies, talking about the program, why we have it, how it's working, and what you need to know if you're interested in scooters and other types of shared micro-mobility like scooters. At each of these series, we'll be raffling off the You Go to Lunch prize pack. Congratulations again to today's winner, Mr. Hogan. We will be in touch by email. Thank you all to our audience for participating today, and we look forward to seeing you at our May session on public transportation. Thank you all. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, Annie.